Hello, my friends. Thank you for tuning in again. I'm really excited to see you guys. For those who do not know me yet, my name is Wieteke. I am an intuitive, an artist, and a channeler for Arjun of the Yahyel. The Yahyel are a hybrid extraterrestrial species who are very closely related to us genetically. They do work together with many other higher dimensional realms, so to speak, beings from the Pleiades, Arcturian energies, Sirian energies, and many others are all flowing through, you could say, in parallel, alongside with the information that I received through Arjun, who kind of functions, in my perception, like a type of hub for all of that information to come through. From my personal experience, I've been having contact with higher dimensional energies and beings from other dimensional realms ever since I was a child. I plan to make more videos in the future about what that history, that journey was like for me, because, oh my goodness, I see so many people right now beginning to allow themselves to embrace such experiences within their own version of reality and stepping forth and beginning to share this information, which is a really interesting and very valuable stepping stone in our journey towards more disclosure of what Arjun calls the deeper essence of ourselves. So he always kind of like sends us back to ourselves to begin with, self-empowerment. It's a human journey that we're choosing to have, or that our soul is choosing to have at this time on Earth. This is the most important aspect to be aware of in our journey, that the foundation is the human journey, and that in addition to that, extraterrestrial contact may add to a greater understanding of ourselves. So that's, generally speaking, the angle that I understand Arjun has always been coming from. A lot of that information, like I said right now, is coming forth and has to do with our evolution as humans on Earth in this day and age. Now, I want to thank you guys, everybody who responded, commented to my last video. And I want to give a really big thumbs up and thank you to Anne Tucker, a colleague channeler who channels the energy vibration of the angelic realm. And she does an amazing job at it, if you ask me. She also receives the messages in a much more poetic form when the channeling is in its raw state, so to speak. And she found a brilliant way of presenting the information to, any listeners interested in that information, by basically first channeling the raw version, which in her case too is very, very poetic. And then she devotes the rest of the video to the breakdown of that message, which helps shed a light on the actual content and helps people to grasp it on a deeper level for themselves. So I allowed myself in the last video to share in a similar way, because I have been receiving deeply poetic information from my guides, my higher self, and also from Arjun, mostly in the beginning stages of my channeling journey. Now, back then, my rational mind did not believe I could share that type of information in its crude form with any audience listening. So I used to reserve all of that kind of work for a very small select group of people that were more close to me, like dear friends, maybe some family members. And other than that, pretty much nobody knew that that's how it came through in the beginning stages of my journey. Now, Arjun never ceased being kind of poetic. It's always been there in the channelings. Anybody who knows the work that I do with Arjun of the Yahyel knows that there are moments where they sound like they're writing a poem, basically, or where they use metaphors and symbology that seems very dreamlike and just carries our imagination to a realm where we can really meet in the middle of where they are, energetically speaking, and where we are located. So in my past, as we look at life linearly, I did art school and I chose illustrational arts as my final form of graduating in. And I actually did work as a professional illustrator for 7 years after that. Throughout that period, I worked on several children's books, all kinds of things like that, in assignment, like people hired me to do the drawings. And for myself, I used to make picture books. But so I just wanted to show you because some people asked, hey, can we see some of your earlier work? So much of that was also most definitely channeled, though be it in the early forms of what I received as information. For instance, I made this little booklet at some point titled Love Letters from Your Heart to You. And that's kind of how I perceived the information that was coming through. It's all lots and lots of poems, as you can tell by the way the text is organized on the page. And I used to just add illustrations with that for fun and because I loved it. And for instance, here you see this little guy with a lot of protection around his heart, as we all do have in many ways when we are led by the conditioning of our society. So really, I kind of always looked at the world with eyes of awe and wonder. So this is some of my graduation works as well. And they're all very, how do you say, minimal in texts. But let me see if I can find a nice picture here. Minimal texts, but really big images, and just like a sentence here and there in poetic form explaining, amongst others, contact experiences that I had when I was a child. It's a truth for me. It doesn't have to be a truth for you. As with every single video, I always invite people to continue to think for yourself and question, if you can, anything and everything, because this intuitively, I sense, is a really profound time where we learn how to discern on a whole new level, and Arjun has spoken on that as well. So anyway, I just wanted to quickly show some pictures of images that I've made, poems that I wrote. These booklets, by the way, were made between 2005 and 2013. After that, I started vocal channeling and I overcame all my super introvert insecurities regarding stepping in front of a camera, and slowly but surely starting to get a little bit more used to that idea and sharing with you guys. Always on request, by the way, because that works best for me from the perspective of human design. For those of you who use that as a permission slip in your own lives, I am a projector, so it works really, really well for me to be invited to do things, which is why I'm always very grateful with those of you who feel inspired to share in the comments below what it is that you would like me to talk about next, or what topics you would like me to tune in with Arjun, so that they can comment on whatever is going on in our world today. And in this video too, I have brought you another automatic writing. And like I explained in the last one, it is particularly in automatic writing. And when I allow myself to go really, really deep, that original crude form or format of the material comes through. So very symbolic and reflective, I feel. You be the judge for that for yourselves. And I'm excited to share this particular transmission with you guys as well. And just as in the last video, I would say if you like to just hear the transmission itself, you can close your eyes and just enjoy the reading, obviously, if you're not driving a car or something like that. If you're at home and you can truly relax, close your eyes, listen to this as if you're listening to your favorite music or a guided meditation. And I will read it to you as it came through, exactly like that. And then I will read it again with the interpretation and the information that I perceived in the background, so to speak, that I felt and saw in my inner vision while I was typing this out. And I will share that segment by segment for you in the second half of this video. Okay, so here we go. Arjun starts by saying, "Dear friends, Earth family, allow us to shine through you today by reflecting on the subjects of value and self-worth and how you create from either force or flow. This near-closing chapter has allowed for the abundant insertion of subtle veils and delusions around almost any and all matters, from your sacred physique to the construct of your finances and all that inhabits the earth. In these times, you have mastered a hypnotic interconnectedness between the idea of self and its relationship to paper agreements and coins. And so, the concept of the one intended to provide you with a means to an end in the practical sense has been allowed to merge with the image of self. With this experiment, a new question arose. What if you do not produce the number and form that align with the norm? Then what is your worth, your use? With the insertion of such mental borders came the cutting of the lands along with its inhabitants in the name of defense. And as simply being became increasingly conditional from all of this then, an idea, it says capital letters ID, an ID filled with doubts was created. This planning, however, has grown over time and has become intertwined with the experience of a slow and reluctant passing as you force yourself into labors or thought coming from something other than love. Yet you darkened this house for a journey of remembrance, and near to completion this journey has come. You may start to feel your hands now itching to draw the truth into the light, and all of these curtains wide open. For unconditional love is the umbilical cord connecting you to this form, and you cannot for long pretend to be disconnected from it. You could before, but soon no more, as a desire for this will no longer make sense. As you allow yourself through this door and all of its deeper sorting, great gifts can be reaped, seriousness shall turn into depth, and all the sharp edges shall soften. It is with deep compassion and unbridled love that we see you now, the true you, as if you've already awakened from the remnants of this sleep. And we understand that to your minds, this structure may look ever so rigid still, for does it not rest on a foundation so many have witnessed? Linearly, this is true, we say, and yet also you have in a sense already surpassed it. And in this remembrance, many join you daily. Deep down you know, these old curtains are upheld merely by interlocking shadows of times already past. No match for this much greater momentum, the winds of change as springing forth from your wide open minds and deep belly breathing. The voices of millions united in one singular desire are what give rise to the softening perspective of your now broadening horizon. You hold within yourselves the key to a much lighter, playful, and confident knowing of your inner being, which also opens up naturally and in parallel the doors to your innate love and awe-filled understanding of the physical form and all that is. There will be again the natural wonder for your own and other people's unique and creative reflections, free from conditioning such as resentment or shame. For the notes to the song of your soul's unhampered expression are already known. You then shall crave no more to be a subconscious co-creator of curtains or to uphold the illusion of what next concept is to define your worth from outside. Turning this key may cause a bit of a rumble in the realm of your organizations and occupations, or your idea of those. No, be surprised to see arise a migration of hearts, first a few but then many, seeking to connect now with their right mind, of hands to appropriate doings, and voices to express their own truth, whether it be in song or in silence. All of this be in preparation, serving the inner journey, not some outer goal, for such limitations shall have significance no more. Your every step or stop a depositing into an infinite energy bank account, cared for by your soul, your cells, and your inner child from day one. Kindness shows the way and allows for resting stations. Clarity shall spring from within as transparency and synchronicity underline and amplify. Allow for moments of rest to reassess your energy to form alignment and all definitions of these hence. You see, when you dissect the old without negatively judging what once was, new forms then can arise. For we all co-create and support one another in the structure of our overlapping, harmonizing realms, magnetizing closer and closer for those who vibrate along with our hearts. In jobs, friendships, relations, material things, and anything else that pulls yet your strings, it is this invitation now that rings for the birth of a new worth within you. Okay, without any further ado, let's dive into the breakdown of this transmission, shall we? So I'm going to read it again in segments and then explain along the way what it is that I felt was coming through as additional information in the background and what images I saw in my mind's eye, and so that you can really travel along with that journey and also allow yourself to see what comes up for you and what it is that you feel inside of yourself. These words are reflecting back to all of us. So, okay, they begin to say, "Dear friends, Earth family, allow us to shine through you today by reflecting on the subjects of value and self-worth and how you create from either force or flow." What I love most about this sentence is that they start by saying, "Allow us to shine through you," because that's really how I understand these messages come to us. Like life comes to us, quote unquote. It doesn't actually overcome us, it flows through us. And so if that's true for everything we perceive, it must be true for these messages or reflections too. So I love that it's like walking into a room with a really big smile on your face and saying to everybody already in there, allow us to shine through you. That's like, let me join the party in a sense. Because we understand we are on the same wavelength and we can meet you here. We can meet you in this same room. That's what I take out of that little beginning right there. So then they continue. This near closing chapter has allowed for the abundant insertion of subtle veils and delusions around almost any and all matters, from your sacred physique to the construct of your finances and all that inhabits the earth. So this is about, as I understand it right now, the ages of the illusion of separation that we have been cultivating, really, in a sense, as a society and within ourselves. We have been the ones who inserted all these, what they call subtle veils and delusions around any and all matters. It's so typically, obviously, of course, also a 3D game, right, that we've been playing. So any and all matters is a very literally meant sentence, I feel. And then they continue, from your sacred physique to the construct of your finances and all that inhabits the earth. But we have, I can't deny that, labeled and boxed in every single aspect of what we understand to be part of our physical realm. And we have built in all kinds of value statements and belief systems around what we should look like, what is beauty or what is not. So there is a lot of judgment in everything that is physical. We have opinions about how finances are best implemented or used. And there's a lot of discussion going on there. So a lot of these frameworks are also under discussion right now. And that's relatively new, actually. I feel that there has been a lot of resistance building up all along the history of these kind of systems as they became and grew more complex. But I feel that right now, with the change of the vibrational wavelength that we are in as a human race and with our mother, with our planet, all of these subjects are on the table to be reviewed. And that's very much what they're referring to here, as I understand it. So they continue, in these times, you have mastered a hypnotic interconnectedness between the idea of self, capital S, and its relationship to paper, agreements, and coins. And so, the concept of the one intended to provide you with a means to an end in the practical sense has been allowed to merge with the image of self. So, what they're referring to here is, well, the hypnotic interconnectedness between the idea of self and its relationship to paper, agreement, and coins. Paper, comma, agreements, and coins. So agreements are also digital, right? So all versions of how we subscribe value to something. And our idea of ourselves, who we are, our self-identity, has become intertwined. And this is what they call an hypnotic interconnectedness. We have been hypnotized, well, we hypnotized ourselves by choosing to believe certain limiting beliefs that have resulted in a type of black and white thinking about our own worth. And so they continue. With this experiment, a new question arose. What if you do not produce the number and form that align with the norm? Then what is your worth or your use? So when you start interconnecting the idea of the things you use for trade, whether it be an object or a paper agreement like we have in place a lot right now, or coins or whatever kind of like neutral means for trade is there. If you start to adopt that as a part, an extension of yourself, your true divine beingness, then it gets really confusing. The water gets really murky. because then where are you? Where do you begin? Where do you end? How much of that particular value symbol is overlapping with how you look at yourself? And it becomes really, really confusing. So this is what they are referring to here. And then they say, with the insertion of such mental borders, because obviously we create all of this stuff in our minds, right? Came the cutting of the lands along with its inhabitants in the name of defense. So when we start cutting the land into little pieces, we go to war with one another. We start to say, hey, this is our land and that is your land, and you can't just march into my land uninvited, and so on. And so it sounds harsh, but I do get it when they say, along with such mental borders came the cutting of the lands along with its inhabitants. Because we did also, like in the past when fights were fought with swords, we did cut each other, we were cutting into each other and cutting into the earth. It's harsh, but that's what our history shows us we have done. And then they continue, and as simply being became increasingly conditional from all of this, then an ID filled with doubts was created. And ID is just the capital letters I and D, like identification files or whatever you may have. So simply being, our pure natural beingness, became increasingly conditional. Now, to what country do you belong? How much money do you earn? So there's all of a sudden all these demands that are connected to the idea of yourself, and it becomes increasingly conditional, which created an idea in your mind and an identification that was filled with doubts, because there's so many questions that arise with all of these concepts. It makes it really complicated to just be, right? To just be without question, like children are, assuming they're well taken care of and they can relax in their own beingness. Then they continue. This planning, however, has grown over time and has become intertwined with the experience of a slow and reluctant passing as you force yourself into labors or thoughts coming from something other than love. So they're describing what I feel represents most of the, the playing field of jobs and labor at this moment on our planet. A lot of that is not from passion. It's still looked at as very unique when you find yourself in a position where your passion truly supports you, and where you can decide on what moment of the day works for you to work in, for instance, or what days to take off. This is definitely still the exception from the norm as we look at the world right now. And with this sentence, I understand that this planning, however, has grown over time. And by over time, they don't only mean it has increased, it has become heavier, it gained momentum. This type of constructing and narrowing our vision and our perspective on life and what work can also be. It has grown overdue. It has run over time. It has grown over time means two things in my understanding. It is over time, it is long overdue that we stop actually walking this path of most resistance, basically. And they say it has become intertwined with the experience of a slow and reluctant passing. So this is the dragging of our heels, going to the job that you absolutely hate, or as you, so they say, force yourself into labors of thought. Labors or thought. So it's an action and thinking, coming from something other than love, because this cannot possibly be love. It is not love. It is division. It is what we tell ourselves. It's a storyline. It's an excuse for something that isn't actually sustainable in the end, because only love can eventually prevail. And so you must be eventually carried by love to continue continue to find the energy within yourself to even do something. You must have some type of motivation that has at least the tiniest little bit of love in it. But if it becomes completely deprived from love, it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And I feel that the threshold has begun to increase. Already over the past decade or so, I've seen reflections of that in our society. But I feel with this particular message, they're letting us know this is going to increase a lot stronger now. It's going to become a lot more solidly felt within a lot more people, that doing something that isn't in true alignment with their higher selves, it just isn't going to work anymore. You know, you can't fake it anymore, basically. That's what I'm feeling this message is announcing may happen in the following months. It's something, or year. It's something that's gonna happen rapidly. That's what I felt very strongly. It's what we are in right now, basically. It has already begun and it's gonna get stronger. That's what I feel they are letting us know here. So then they continue. Yet you darkened this house for a journey of remembrance, and to near completion this journey has come. You may start to feel your hands now itching to draw the truth into light, and all of these curtains wide open. So when they say you darkened this house, they mean the curtains that we hang into place. Well, if you have the symbol of a house, the community we share as human beings, the civilization that we built together, that is the house. And those curtains of deception, those curtains of the illusion of limitation, darkened the house. The whole house got darker with these curtains in place. So, but we did that for a journey of remembrance, because if you darken the house enough, you'll get really sick and tired with it. And that's why they say, you may start to feel your hands now itching to draw the truth into the light, and all of these curtains wide open. And then they continue, for unconditional love is the umbilical cord connecting you to this form, and you cannot for long pretend to be disconnected from it. You could before, but soon no more, as a desire for this will no longer make sense. As you allow yourself through this door and all of its deeper sorting, great gifts can be reaped. Seriousness shall turn into depth, and all the sharp edges shall soften. So there's a lot in here. I feel that by saying you could before, but soon no more, I kind of already addressed that. I sensed that very strongly, that because of the vibration of the earth, it's changing. We can continue with all of these excuses towards ourselves, using our rational minds as our running engine to perform in this particular way. But the earth is asking from us to start to have our hearts be the leading factor and no longer our minds. And therefore, that strength of continuing this veil of deception towards ourselves, primarily, it begins with us and then it spreads into the collective, right? We condition each other. But as this vibration is shifting, we are invited to change that within ourselves, so that we also collectively then can, lighten up that house and let the light back in. As you allow yourself through this door and all of its deeper sorting. So if we allow ourselves to walk through that door, we confront the issue in ourselves. That's what I understand by this. We notice the discrepancy that is between our minds and our hearts. And then we face it and we look at what wants to be seen. That's walking through the door as I understand it. And all of its deeper sorting means we're gonna have to look at every single belief system that is contributing to us having chosen to build our lives in this way. So we're shifting and sorting throughout all of that. And as we do, great gifts can be reaped. And they say seriousness shall turn into depth, and all of the sharp edges shall soften. So as we review all of these belief systems that we have chosen to put into place, and we allow ourselves to transform that within ourselves, we can find depth in the seriousness that we used before. So we were very serious about all of these things that we felt we had to do. I have to do this job that I don't really like, or I have to do this and I have to do that. And we were very serious about that, in forcing ourselves through it, even though perhaps half of it was complete nonsense and based on belief systems that we actually deep down no longer identify with. So that seriousness then turns into depth because you have experienced how hard it is to be that serious about something that isn't your true self. And having lived through it gives you the richness of having reaped the experience of going through that. So it deepens you. So you have the depth of somebody who chose, not consciously, but on a higher level, to evolve through such circumstances and come out stronger on the other end. That's what I understand is being meant by that. So seriousness shall turn into depth, and all the sharp edges shall soften. So whatever felt like it was sharp and harsh and mean and abusive in a sense to yourself, or maybe even in your behavior to others, because when we feel we have a lot on our plate, it's very easy to get snappy to other people and to project our own suffering and stress levels on our environment. And of course, nobody intends to do that, or maybe most people don't intend to actually do that deliberately, but we may accidentally find ourselves in such places, which makes everything very sharp, But if we walk through that door of transformation within ourselves, those sharp edges will soften, because then we can see, oh, wait a minute, that's why I behaved that way. I can see how everything is connected. And I'm allowing myself to disentangle all of that within myself and just to address one thing at a time to see what I can then transform in my own life and how I can act in greater alignment with my higher self. So then they continue. It is with deep compassion and unbridled love that we see you now, the true you, as if you've already awakened from the remnants of this sleep. Clearly they allowing us to remember within ourselves that there must be such a version of us, right? There is a version of us that is already beyond all of this, and they're allowing us to remember that, or if we don't remember it, to at least begin to imagine it, because that's where all change begins, by allowing ourselves to imagine, wait a minute, maybe there is another way. There might be another way to go about this. And they see us beyond it. We've already done this in the way they look at us. And they continue. And we understand that to your minds, this structure may look ever so rigid still. For does it not rest on a foundation so many have witnessed? Linearly, this is true, we say. And yet also, you have in a sense already surpassed it. And in this remembrance, many join you daily. So first they remind us on a heart level, on a soul level, like, hey, there's a version of you that is already beyond this. And then, and I really love this, they address our rational minds. And that's why they start with, and we understand that to your minds, this structure may look ever so rigid still. For does it not rest on a foundation so many have witnessed? And this is, of course, how we keep ourselves completely occupied in a never-ending cycle of repetition. Because you may think to yourself, my neighbor is living like this, my parents have always lived like this, my school has educated me to simply take for granted that this is how life works. You have copy-pasted conditional thinking in so many occasions of your life. So they're acknowledging this is our programming, that this is what the rational mind has eventually surrendered to, in a sense, to believe as this is the reality, but it is not. Or they're letting us know there are other ways. And in fact, we do know this because there is plenty of people that serve as an example for this. You may have somebody that you think, oh my God, wow, they're doing something I would love to do. And so many people right now, with the assistance of social media, for instance, find themselves capable of making a living of something that they truly love, no matter how weird or awkward or quirky it may be, by just expertising in making versions of overnight oat recipes, for instance. You could make a whole YouTube channel just filled with that, or share pictures of desserts on Instagram. And the more you allow yourself to just follow that passion, then somehow, if it is in alignment with your greater self, if it is truly a reflection of a deep aspect of your greater self, it will then eventually support you. There's no other way. The universe will reflect back to you, hey, this is it. You're on it. You're on track. Not that you can be off track, but you know what I mean. You're on track doing this aspect of life in such a way that it is balanced. It has balanced out. You're supported by it, which is beautiful. So we see this more and more often. But for those that sometimes forget that this is a possibility, or they don't believe it's something that could happen for them, they don't see it for themselves, these are the people that they're speaking to when they say they address the mind's perspective, acknowledging that this structure may look ever so rigid still. So, but then they also flip it around and say, linearly, this is true, we say, and yet also you have in a sense already surpassed it. And in this remembrance, many join you daily. So they're letting us know there's a great momentum of people growing into this greater awareness that more must be possible. It simply must be possible. And why not for everyone? Why not for all of us? You know? So then they continue, deep down you know, these old curtains are upheld merely by interlocking shadows of times already past. No match for this much greater momentum, the winds of change, as springing forth from your wide open minds and deep belly breathing. I love that. It's really so much about sinking into the natural state of being that is you, and allowing your mind to open. So the deep belly breathing is that contact with your body where you feel, I'm allowed to be, I can be here. I have this connection with my environment that is harmonious. When you breathe in that way, you can feel the air flowing into your system, nourishing every cell with oxygen. And then when you breathe out, you let go of all the heavier aspects in your energetic system, and also the air that is now lacking the oxygen can leave your system, and in a sense it can nourish the plants who thrive on this the substance combination that we breathe out, and so we can become really aware of that beautiful intricate dance that we naturally have with our environment and feel supported by it. So then they continue, the voices of millions united in one singular desire are what give rise to the shifting perspective of your now broadening horizon. Well, that speaks for itself, I think. It is really, so many people right now are just fed up with doing things that they can't find or see any love in. And I'm not saying, by the way, that wouldn't be possible. We all have some stuff on our to-do lists that we maybe rather not do. I also do believe that we can do all of these things from a place of love. There's this old, this ancient monk saying, I believe, it's like, before enlightenment, fetch water and cut wood, and after enlightenment, fetch water and cut wood. Because in every quote-unquote mundane task of life, love can be found. But that's not what they're talking about here. What they're talking about here is that we have trapped ourselves in the illusion of having to do certain things, and we have intertwined that with our self-worth. So this is a different nuance in the greater game that we're all playing together, wherein we are being asked to find a harmony within ourselves and with that we call the outer world. So both of these elements are important in that, to be able and find ourselves capable to find love in things that simply belong with being focused in a physical dimensional reality, and finding ourselves capable of doing them with a sense of inner stillness and just presence and joy, just for being here in this life. That's great. That's a great achievement if you can find that in yourself, and that's a beautiful foundation upon which then, when it comes to your profession or how you earn your money, all these other like additional things that we quote unquote must do, if there's a big misalignment in that segment of your life, they're inviting us to pull that segment into a greater awareness as well, to love that we can be in presence and in peace with our daily tasks, and challenge ourselves to up-level, in a sense, how we relate to the rest of the stuff that we tell ourselves we must do. So to become a really conscious creator on every single one of these aspects that make up our daily lives. That's what I feel this message really refers to. And then they continue to say, you hold within yourselves the key to a much lighter, playful, and confident knowing of your inner being, which also opens up naturally and in parallel the doors to your innate love and awe-filled understanding of the physical form and all that is. So, wow, I don't even know where to begin with this one. There's so much in here. Okay, so we hold within ourselves the key to a much lighter, playful, and confident knowing of our inner being. And that is always there. That is just a constant. It's there, it's accessible. For some people, they may connect to it through meditation. For others, it is through running or working out. Because we're all different, right? We're all unique. For some people, activity actually brings more of a mental space and opens up the mind more than sitting still and being quiet. Whereas for other people, it really is that. Or for others, it is singing or music or dance or cooking or cleaning. Would you believe it? Like I actually have that myself. It may sound really odd to a lot of people. I love to clean, to organize, to sort out stuff. Because I really feel that as I'm doing that in the physical, it's like I'm doing it in my own mind. It's like a one-on-one reflection. You just work your way the other way around, like most spiritual paths, and also the Yahyel as well. They also remind us always of that what we experience within, that we create from within. And I do believe that that is true. But funnily enough, somehow ever since I was a child, I found some way to twist it or flip it and to have the actual physical and mental experience of feeling clarity in my mind as a result of clarity in my surroundings. So cleaning and doing the dishes and stuff like that, I don't mind. I just don't mind. I can even truly enjoy them. What did they say? We have this key to a much lighter, playful, and confident knowing of our inner being within us. So our true identity is known. We know it. When you feel it, you know it. You know what that is like. You know what it feels like when you're doing something with ease and flow and joy. So that's kind of what they're reminding us of here. And then they say, as we engage more with that in parallel, we open up the doors to our innate love and awe-filled understanding, which is an understanding just, and you're dazzled. It's like, wow, this is amazing. But I also really understand it. Of the physical form and all that is. So the physical dimension that we are in right now, that we have labeled as so super limiting and upstream and so challenging, which I'm not denying is a real experience that many people have, and I still too, on a regular basis, bump my head into. It is the physical form, right? We do have to deal with all the things that come with being focused in the physical dream, as Arjun calls it. So that is really there, but there can simultaneously be an awe-filled understanding of all of that as we get to know our inner selves more deeply, which is beautiful and makes me so happy to think about. So here we go a little further. Then they continue. There will be again the natural wonder for your own and other people's unique and creative reflections, free from conditioning such as resentment or shame. So many of us, I am sure, have some kind of creative expression that they would love to either just engage for themselves or share with the world, like painting or photography or writing or singing or whatever it may be. Maybe you make some crazy technical invention but you hold yourself back. Oh, that's not going to work out anyway, because you make it conditional, right? I'm not going to do that because there's no way in the world that I'm going to be the next Picasso. But what if it's not about that? This is the thing, right? I think that's what they're reflecting back to us, to ease up on ourselves and to allow ourselves to let these kind of inspirational bits and pieces flow through us effortlessly, because this is the wealth. We contribute to the wealth of what it means to be in the physical form when we reveal these gifts to one another without insisting that it needs to lead to anything. Then there will be the natural wonder for our own and other people's unique and creative reflections, free from conditioning like I can't do that or whatever, such as resentment or shame. And resentment obviously comes easily, in this very deeply, heavily conditioned reality. The resentment comes from seeing other people who do choose to do that, and then telling yourself that you can't. They can, I can't. And that is just the perfect recipe for bitterness and anger and frustration and all of these sensations, right? Which really, as I understand lower vibrational emotion, as Arjun and many other sources explain to us, just represent our messengers. All of these lower vibrational emotions are messengers to help us realize or wake up to the fact, hey, wait a minute, whatever is going on right now can't possibly be in alignment with my higher self, or I wouldn't feel this way. Something's up. It's a wake-up call, basically, is what they say. Then they continue. For the notes of the song of your soul's unhampered expression are already known. Oh, that is so beautiful. I love that. And this is why I believe we know when we know it when we feel it. So the moment you allow yourself to then freely express your creativity, or just start sketching and really, really make it unconditional. Don't tell yourself it needs to look like one thing or the other. Just do it for the fun, for the sake of doing it. When we truly allow ourselves to act on our unique creative expression in that way, something magical happens. We just land so fully into the here and now moment. And that deep belly breathing that they spoke about earlier, it just starts to happen automatically, naturally. You find yourself in the flow of your blueprint, say, expressing itself through you. That is really allowing life to flow through you, uninhibited, as they say, or unhampered, an unhampered expression. And it feels like home, because the notes of the song of your soul's unhampered expression are already known. It's already known. You will just, like a puzzle piece folding into place. That's how you feel within yourself when you allow yourself to do these kind of things. And then they continue. You then shall crave no more to be a subconscious co-creator of curtains, or to uphold the illusion of what next concept is to define your worth from outside. So you don't want to be one of those people that creates the rules, the illusions, the divisions, the walls that says, hey, you have to present yourself this way. You have to follow these etiquettes. You have to if you do produce art, you have to be really good at it, or you're not worth of creating time to do that. That's conditioning, and it's faulty. It's just simply not true. So they let us know, you then shall crave no more to be a subconscious co-creator of curtains. You will no longer want to be one of the people who come up with such types of thinking and spread it, like a very disappointed parent may accidentally, because they haven't looked at it within themselves yet, whatever is going on there, they may accidentally condition their children, or try to condition their children to think the same way, as they do. Like, in fact, that is, in a very twisted way, it is a type of love. They just want their kids to be protected from the deep level of disappointment they may have experienced in their own lives regarding creative expression and doing what you love and just allowing to freely explore that. Maybe when they tried to do that when they were a child, they were just hammered down, by their surroundings, or punished for it, or I don't know, whatever, or scolded, whatever it was. And they pay it forward. They don't mean to be the guardians of the old paradigm and keep it in place that way, but they accidentally do, because they haven't looked at how that left them and why they eventually chose to stop expressing their own natural creativity in whatever way brings them joy. They gave up. They gave up on themselves, and so it's hard for them to see value in their children exploring in the same way, or in that way. So what they're saying here, the Yahyel, is that we will no longer crave to be a co-creator of such illusions. And I do assume that because they say crave, we did crave it in the past. We wanted to be, it does make sense actually, because we wanted to fit in. We did it because we wanted to fit in. So we became a co-creator. Like, oh, my parents told me this, I want to fit in, so I'm gonna tell this to all my friends as well, because now we all abide to the same rules and it will work smoothly. Turns out that wasn't really, or isn't really how it works, right? But we're opening those curtains so we can let the light pour in. All right, so then they continue turning this key, and again, that this is referring to the key that lies, yes, the key to a much lighter, playful, and confident knowing of our inner being lies within ourselves. So turning this key may cause a bit of a rumble in the realm of your organizations and occupations, or your ideas of those. Be surprised to see arise a migration of hearts, first a few, but then many, seeking to connect now with their right mind, of hands to appropriate doings, and of voices to express their own truth, whether it be in song or in silence. All right, so there's a lot in this one. Turning this key of our deeper inner knowing and activating it in our actions and our deeds and the way we think of life may cause a bit of a rumble in the realm of your organizations and occupations, so the work field, so to speak, everything that has to do with jobs, to simplify it, and how we make our money and how we connect value, our self-worth to all of these ideas. All of this, the organizations, our occupations, and our ideas of those. So they're addressing the whole full package. And then they say, do not be surprised to see arise a migration of hearts. A lot of change is going to happen there. Some shifting shall occur. First a few, but then many, seeking to connect now with their right mind. And that's actually the end of the sentence, period. So it says, seeking to connect now with their right mind. So the right mind, I had to take a moment and think about that. Maybe they mean the right side of our brain, which is, connected to the idea of creativity and intuition and all of that. But maybe they also mean to be in your right mind, to have a proper, cohesive way of thinking, which from their perspective is to have an open mind, right? To not box yourself in or tell yourself you need to be limited in one way or another. So many hearts will be seeking to connect to their right mind, which is also, I suppose, the right mind is the mind that follows the heart. And the wrong mind, if you want to make it black and white, the challenged mind sounds a lot better. A challenged mind thinks it needs to lead the way. And then the mind is leading the way. But it's not us being in our right mind. This is how I understand it right now. If you have other ideas about how this sentence could be interpreted, please do let me know in the comments below. And that goes for every single segment that I'm breaking down here. Maybe you have some additional perspectives that can add to our broader understanding of what is being reflected back to us here. So, no be surprised to see arise a migration of hearts, first a few, but then many, seeking to connect now to their right mind. Period. Next sentence. Of hands to appropriate doings. So this is still talking about a migration. Not just of hearts, but also of hands. We will see a migration of hands that are seeking to find appropriate doings. The doings, the actions, the performances that are connected to these hands naturally. So for instance, if you're intuitively, you're an artist. And maybe you've dabbled in pottery before. You made some things out of clay or with mosaics or whatever. And it was really beautiful. But then you did shove it aside because you felt you had to do something else because it would be more profitable or whatever. And so you completely shoved it aside. And you didn't even keep it on the sideline as a hobby that you just do once in a while, for instance. You just suppressed it. And it grieved you, but you did it anyway. Then your hands are still seeking to do something that is similar to that thing that you loved so much in the past. And I just love how this was described. A migration of hands to find appropriate doings, the doings that belong to those hands. And voices are migrating to express their own truth, whether it be in song or in silence. So all truths can be expressed differently, right? And for some people, not responding is them expressing their truth, or by remaining in that inner place of silence is what I mean, where there is no need to react to certain things. That is also an expression of truth in a way. It's a passive reaction. It's still a reaction though. It's a choice. You can deliberately choose to not respond and be more truthful that way than when you force yourself to respond in another way. So I love that they include, whether it be in song or in silence, all forms of expression are included in people then finding what works for them, basically. And then they continue. All of this be in preparation, serving the inner journey, not some outer goal. For such limitations shall have significance no more. Your every step or stop, a depositing into an infinite energy bank account, cared for by your soul, your cells, and your inner child from day one. All of these things, this entire migration serves the inner journey, not some outer goal. It's not to see a change on the outside. We all do it for our inner well-being. Because the outer goal illusion, which is part of the curtains, they refer to and they say, such limitations shall have significance no more. It will be collectively understood at some point, I guess, is what I'm understanding from this. That those, doing stuff for appearance's sake will no longer carry value. We will be able to pierce through that and see what is of that quality level that is real, that is genuine. It will be recognized, it will be acknowledged, is what I'm understanding from that. And then they go on, your every step or stop, so whether you move forward or decide to take a break, will then be a depositing into an infinite energy bank account, which is everything we do, think, and say goes into that bank account, I think. And it is cared for by your soul, your cells, and your inner child from day one. So from the moment you came into this physical orientation, the physical form is also a reflection of the soul, and our inner child, this holy trinity, so to speak, is caring for the energy bank account. It cares for it. It's not guarding it like some soldier, but it's caring for it. It loves it, and it's inviting you to love it too. So I feel when we experience certain challenges in our lives, sometimes that is just one of these three, the soul, the cells, or the inner child, pulling us back to, what is at hand, what is going on in that moment, saying, hey, wait a minute, look at this. This needs your attention right now because I care for it. And I care for you. It's just caring for us, right? The soul, the inner child, our cells, our body. Your body loves you. You're being carried through life in so many ways. And even if you do have very strong physical challenges, and I'm so super sorry to hear that if that is the case for you, but even then, there's always parts of the body that function without us having to think about it. And we can at least say thank you to those parts if it is difficult to feel gratitude for whatever other challenges may be going on. And I personally believe, also from my own experiences with physical challenges in the past, I feel that if you can just find a little piece of yourself to love, then by relaxing into that and focusing on that without being forcefully or judgmental towards the rest of your being or your understanding of yourself, then you can allow it to grow and allow it to grow, to envelope more of your beingness, and then your body can relax a little bit more as well. So, all right, so then they continue here by saying, kindness shows the way and allows for resting stations. Clarity shall spring from within as transparency and synchronicity underline and amplify. So as you allow yourself to embark upon that journey of finding more harmony between whatever your daily regimen looks like right now, whatever kind of job you may be occupying. As we begin to, one step at a time, very kind to ourselves, while being really kind to ourselves, embark upon that journey of realignment and finding more balance within ourselves in regards to our environment in that way. Kindness shows the way and allows for resting stations, and clarity shall spring from within. The clarity can then come, right? Because we opened up a bit of space in our minds for that clarity to even be noticed. Because if we're just running 24/7, where are we going to find the pause, right? To even register what our higher selves and our guides and, whoever is co-creating with us in this beautiful dance, whatever they have to bring to us. You need to have an openness, a space, a landing spot, a bus station, whatever you want to call it, to allow it into conscious awareness. So clarity shall spring from within as transparency and synchronicity underline and amplify. I think this means that as we embark on that journey, if we choose to be transparent, this will underline and amplify our journey. It will make it more profound, so to speak. And synchronicity will also show that to us. So we are transparent, sending transparency out into the world, no longer ashamed of what it is that we stand for or love and wish to be expressive in. And then synchronicity will pick up in speed. And I've heard this from so many people over the last few months, how this has been going rampant in so many people's lives. Synchronicity is just through the roof. And it will reflect back to you, yes, this makes sense. Yes, this makes sense. Or maybe no, now you're in your mind again. Course correct a little bit. So your higher self, the connection to your higher self, that will be sensed so much more tangibly. Almost there. So then they say, allow for moments of rest to reassess your energy to form alignment and all definitions of these hence. So take breaks, is what I understand from this, and reassess, review everything that you've been addressing and whatever perhaps course corrections you've allowed yourself to make without stressing out or telling yourself you must do this or you're wrong. So you will, if you start to look at your life and you felt very limited in that before, you will find all kinds of definitions that are judging and limiting and prejudiced in yourself. I mean, that's just there. Me too. We all carry a lot of that with us. Even if we feel we've opened up our lives pretty well to some degree, or we've found quite a groove in our actions, then still a lot of people, and me too, we are still carrying around all kinds of conditionings that yet wish to be transformed, that are not yet fully in alignment with our higher selves. And this is the work, the everyday, like the upkeeping of your house, cleaning, the floor, the tables, everything. And so these energy to form alignments, those are the definitions that we have about what is it that we think and what is it that we see as a consequence. So what are our beliefs that we had before and that we will have in the future? Your energy to form alignment and all definitions of these hence. So keep an eye on that is basically what they're saying. As you're rewriting the past, stay awake in the future and realize that there may still come more negative beliefs, more layers that wish to be transformed. So then they go on, you see when you dissect the old without negatively judging what once was, new forms then can arise. Now that makes total sense, right? After what we've just gone through. And then they go on, for we all co-create and support one another in the structure of our overlapping, harmonizing realms, magnetizing closer and closer for those who vibrate along with our hearts. And this is the Yahyel speaking to us, reminding us that we are all co-creating this together. They are with us and we are with them, co-creating and supporting one another. We're supporting them too. Right? This is like a pitfall. A lot of people often think our guides are just supporting us, but we're also supporting them because they get to fulfill their desire, their purpose, their mission by us allowing them to reflect back to us what it is we need to see. So a good teacher also always remains a student, an eager student. Because when you develop onto becoming a teacher, you're learning how to be a better teacher. You're still learning, so you're also still a student. You will forever be a student in my understanding of these things. So our guides are learning from us, and they're really giving that back to us here. We all co-create and support one another in the structure of our overlapping, harmonizing realms. The realm wherein the Yahyel exists, or any of your guides may exist, or whatever higher vibrational fields feel called to support us through the reflection of information. And our world, they're intrinsically connected, really. And we're magnetizing closer and closer for those who vibrate along with our heart. So the Yahyel say we are getting closer energetically with our hearts to their hearts if we vibrate along to the same wavelength. And of course, if it's relevant for our life's journey, then one day maybe we may meet. And then last sentence, in jobs, friendships, relations, material things, and anything else that pulls yet your strings, it is this invitation now that rings for the birth of a new worth within you. So yes, in all aspects of our lives, basically, is what this comes down to. We are being invited to allow the birth of a new worth or understanding of worth, what is of value, to be birthed within us, a greater understanding of what worth really is, so that we can see ourselves in that light and be it without overthinking it and making it conditional or codependent of certain factors outside of us. So, my gosh, this is the whole transmission. I thank you so much for tuning in. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for following along. And let me know what you thought about it. And if you had any insights of your own or any kind of synchronicities from your own life, I would really love to hear that. Leave them in the comments below. I promise to read them all. And I send you so much love. See you in the next one. Bye.